dalam hal
Iya.
ini paus ya. Ya, nanti
Hmm,
mungkin kita bisa lihat Om. Silakan.
oke. Ini kita langsung putar dulu atau saya boleh share sedikit juga ya berkaitan
Boleh,
dengan
boleh.
kepemimpinan Petrus. Ternyata saya kaget gitu ya di catatan Sinaksarion begitu kawan-kawan.
Ya,
Eh,
ya silakan.
Sarion ini saya pikir dari pihak Ortodoks itu tidak mengakui bahwa Petrus itu adalah pemimpin. Tapi ketika saya baca Sinaksarion ini yang notabene lebih dikenal, oh ini Ortodoks punya nih gitu ya tentang Rasul Petrus. Saya kaget di sini ya ini semacam larik atau apa bait untuk kidung pujian gitu ya kepada jana suci atau kalau di bahasa kita itu santo gitu. Nah, ini yang di Rasul Petrus ya. Nah, di sini di Megalinarium ya gitu. Mari kita memuji Sang Bentara pertama di dunia. Petrus yang paling dihormati pimpinan di antara 12 rasul. Wow, berarti ternyata nggak main-main gitu ya. Bahwa Petrus di sini itu dihormati sebagai pimpinan begitu ya di antara 12 rasul gitu. Jadi bukan sekedar klaim dari pihak Roma saja ya, bahkan dari penulis Sinaksarion ini sendiri pun juga mengakui bahwa Petrus ini adalah pemimpin para rasul. Oke, mungkin sekarang kita putar dulu ya. Pak Jack Sparrow mau bertanya tadi kira-kira? Silakan sebelum kita putar videonya.
Tadi cuma nanya bagaimana
Oh,
caranya share screen.
oke.
Itu aja. Ya di ini aja putar dulu ya, biar saya
Oke,
semakin banyak informasinya dulu. Makasih.
siap. Oke, untuk share screen sekalian aja karena saya lagi mau share screen juga, itu bisa diklik share yang warna hijau itu, kemudian ada screen, di situ ada whiteboard, iPad dan sebagainya, nanti bisa diklik screennya. Kalau ada suara soundnya bisa di checklist dulu ya, baru share, kemudian, nah sekarang kita putar dulu ya, ini dari Patriark ya, Bang Cucu ya, Patriark Ortodoks ya.
Dia metropolitan, metropolitan di Amerika Serikat.
Oke,
Seperti Uskup Agung ya.
Uskup Agung ya, kalau di bahasa sana kan Patriark ya. Oke,
Metropolitan sih, metropolitan.
siap.
Towards the very end of the council, when everybody wanted to go home. 10 months for the filioque, 10 days for the papal claims. Such was the order of priorities in the 15th century. Our perspective in the 21st century is altogether different. In the eyes of most Orthodox and of most Catholics, today, the crucial point at issue between our two churches is not so much the theology of the Holy Spirit, but the position of the Bishop of Rome within the universal church. In the words of Cardinal Walter Casper, who until recently was president of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity, and he was co-chairman of our joint international commission, for non-Catholic Christians, the papal ministry is the major hindrance on the path towards unity. The main theological problem we now face, he writes, is our shared and different understanding of communio, koinonia. His counterpart, the Orthodox co-chairman of the Joint Commission, Metropolitan John Zizioulas of Pergamon, is in full agreement here. Historically, he says, the question of the papal authority and primacy has been the main cause for the gradual estrangement between the West and the East. The question of primacy undoubtedly lies at the very heart of Roman Catholic Orthodox relations. The ecumenical patriarch Bartholomew is of the same opinion. We have different ecclesiologies, he writes, and the place of the Bishop of Rome in the universal Church of Christ constitutes the principal obstacle. It will be noticed that Cardinal Caspar, Metropolitan John, and the Ecumenical Patriarch all speak of papal primacy rather than papal infallibility, as constituting the chief difficulty between Orthodoxy and Rome. Obviously, the question of papal infallibility will also need to be discussed in our dialogue. But there seems to be general agreement on both sides that we should begin by discussing the subject of primacy. But in fact, in 1980, they didn't begin with that. They wanted to adopt a new approach. At the Council of Ferrara-Florence, the participants began by discussing the points of disagreement. With the current international dialogue, a different approach was adopted. The members of the dialogue, to borrow a phrase later used by Pope John Paul II in his 1995 encyclical Ut Unum Sint, desired to be open to a new situation. They feared that if they were to commence, as at Florence, with the points of disagreement, this would merely result in each party repeating well-worn arguments from the polemical arsenal of the past. They began, therefore, not by considering familiar matters of controversy, but by exploring possible areas of consensus. So, in the early statements from the dialogue, there was discussed the significance of the local church, the integral connection between church and Eucharist, the meaning of communion or koinonia. And it was only in 2007 at Ravenna that we began to confront the crucial question of primacy. Now, in its agreed statement, the meeting at Ravenna distinguished three levels of authority, three levels of primacy. First, the local level, the bishop in his diocese. Secondly, regional primacy. And for us Orthodox, this means the primacy of the different patriarchs and the different heads of the autocephalous churches. And then, at Ravenna, they distinguished a third level of primacy, universal primacy, vested in the Pope. Now, though this may not to Catholic hearers seem very surprising, in fact, this represents something of a breakthrough. In the past, very many Orthodox have altogether denied this third level, the universal primacy of the Pope. They have considered the Pope simply as the most senior among the patriarchs, as the elder brother, as the first among equals. But Ravenna affirms that one should distinguish the position of patriarchs from the position of the Pope. And in fact, the Ravenna statement said quite explicitly, the fact of primacy at the universal level is accepted by both East and West. That affirmation was signed by all the Orthodox delegates at Ravenna. In fact, there was no delegation on that occasion from the Church of Russia, but that was because of difficulties over the Church of Estonia. It had nothing to do with the question of papal primacy. Now, we Orthodox are very keen on emphasizing the importance of councils. We emphasize synodality. But here, the Ravenna statement follows out what was said on many occasions by the Orthodox co-chairman, Metropolitan John Zizioulas. He has repeatedly said, synodality cannot exist without primacy. So the fact of primacy, the universal primacy of the Pope, was accepted at Ravenna by both sides. But Ravenna did not settle the much more difficult question, what kind of primacy? I quote from the Ravenna statement. Both sides agree that there was a canonical taxis, a canonical order, recognized by all in the era of the undivided Church. Further, they agree that Rome, as the Church that presides in love, according to the phrase of St. Ignatius of Antioch, occupied the first place in this taxis or order, and that the Bishop of Rome was therefore first, protos, among the patriarchs. They disagree, however, on the interpretation of the historical evidence from this early era regarding the prerogatives of the Bishop of Rome as protos, as first.